When he told my mother she should eat in the kitchen with the cleaning crew, he didn't whisper it. He said it loud. Loud enough for every dinner guest to hear. Loud enough for my mother to flinch. Then he laughed. So I stood up. I took her trembling hand, and I walked us straight toward the man who thought humiliating her was entertainment. What I did next, they still talk about it today. My name is Janelle Brooks, and I grew up outside Atlanta in a neighborhood where people waved from their porches and borrowed sugar from each other. My parents, Maurice and Darlene Brooks, raised me on love, discipline, and Sunday faith. They taught me to be gentle, to be patient, to avoid unnecessary conflict. I didn't realize until much later that avoiding conflict can sometimes be the most dangerous choice of all. By 34, I had everything I thought I wanted. A solid job downtown as a senior project coordinator, aging parents who were still healthy, and a marriage that looked stable from the outside. And then there was Reggie Carter. Handsome, charming, educated, the kind of man who shook hands like he owned the room. He built a career in real estate, and the gated community where we lived fed every inch of his ego. Picture-perfect lawns, silent neighbors with expensive tastes, houses designed more for bragging rights than for living. Reggie loved it. I tolerated it. But as the years went on, tiny cracks appeared in comments he made about my family. Your folks are sweet, just real simple. Your mom is still cleaning houses. She's too old for all that bending. Don't bring them around the business crowd. I don't want them feeling out of place. Every time I flinched, he laughed it off. Babe, it's a joke. Don't be so sensitive. But I wasn't sensitive. I was waking up. 3 days before his 40th birthday, Reggie laid out a seating chart on our dining table like he was planning a royal banquet. This is the main table, he said, tapping the center. My partners, their wives, VIP only. He slid his finger toward the corner. And your parents can sit here. The farthest table, behind a decorative plant, practically outside the dining area. Reggie, I said slowly, why are they over there? They'll be comfortable, no pressure. You know they're different from my circle. A quiet cold ache spread in my chest. They sit with us. His smile dropped. Janelle, don't start. You know how they are. And that was the first time I thought, something is really wrong here. The next afternoon, my mother called. Baby, she said gently, what should I wear? I don't want to look out of place at Reggie's big party. My throat tightened. Mom, you can't look out of place anywhere. Wear what makes you feel beautiful. But her voice lingered in my mind the entire night. If she already felt out of place, someone made her feel that way. Later that evening, I passed the bedroom and heard Reggie on speakerphone laughing with a colleague. No, her parents are harmless. Just basic, man. Her mama's still cleaning houses. I'll seat them off to the side. No worries. The guy on the other end laughed. I froze in the hallway. My heart didn't break. It hardened. That was the moment a fire lit in me. The next night, he said, casually loosening his tie, oh, let your mama know not to wander near the kitchen tomorrow. Caterers will be working. Don't want guests thinking she's staff. He laughed. I didn't. His laugh stayed stuck in my chest like a splinter. When I took my mom her dress, my father watched me with the kind of look that sees right through you. You okay, baby girl? He asked quietly. I opened my mouth to lie, but he just nodded slowly and said, I taught you to choose peace, but peace ain't silence. His words settled deep. I knew I wouldn't be silent much longer. Reggie's birthday dinner was an entire production. Gold accents, crystal glasses, a private chef, and a guest list of people who only laughed with their mouths, not their eyes. My parents arrived right on time. My mom looked beautiful in her cream dress. My dad looked dignified in his charcoal suit.
They stood at the entryway, holding hands, nervous but proud. I hugged them tight. Reggie strolled over with his politician smile, nodded slowly, inspecting them like he was doing quality control. "Good to see you," he said, but the warmth never reached his eyes. He guided everyone to the dining room where seats were filling fast. And then I noticed the only two empty chairs, far corner, behind the plant, practically hidden. My stomach dropped. Mom squeezed my hand and whispered, "It's all right, baby. We're just happy to be here." But I wasn't. Dinner began. People laughed at bland jokes and bragged about stock portfolios. My parents sat quietly, trying their best not to take up space. Then it happened. Not a spilled drink, not clumsiness, just a small, innocent moment turned ugly. My mom reached for her purse to grab her glasses. The strap had tangled on the chair. When she pulled it, the chair jerked just enough to make her stumble forward. She caught herself immediately, but silverware clattered, people gasped softly, heads turned. Reggie's face darkened, not with concern, but with embarrassment. He stood up slowly, smiling, the way people smile right before cruelty. "Mrs. Brooks," he said loudly, "maybe you'd be more comfortable eating in the kitchen with the cleaning staff. They're on break. You'd fit right in." He chuckled. A few guests forced awkward laughs. My mother's face crumpled, her eyes dropped, her hand shook as she reached for her napkin. My father's jaw clenched so tight I heard it click. And me? Something inside me went ice cold and perfectly still. I didn't shake, didn't cry, didn't shout. I simply stood. The room went silent, like someone pressed pause. I walked around to my mother. She looked up, startled and ashamed. I took her hand. Her fingers trembled in mine. And then I walked her straight toward Reggie. Every guest stared. A server froze mid-step. Reggie straightened, expecting me to apologize on her behalf. He had no idea. I stepped in close enough to see the flicker of fear in his eyes, and I said something that cracked the night wide open. In that moment, the marriage I'd been trying to protect finally shattered. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I just looked straight at Reggie and said, clear enough to cut through every whisper in that room, "Reggie, sit down." It was barely a command, more like a quiet truth that everyone suddenly understood. He blinked at me, startled. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," I repeated. "Sit." Something in my voice must have reached him because his body moved before his ego could argue. He lowered himself back into his chair, stiff, trying to pretend he wasn't obeying me in front of all his guests. My mother tugged my hand, whispering my name, but I squeezed her fingers. "You're okay," I murmured. "Just breathe." I stepped behind Reggie's chair, still holding her hand. I looked out at the faces staring back, wide-eyed, guilty, hungry for drama, or pretending they weren't listening. People who had laughed with him minutes earlier suddenly seemed afraid to blink. "My mother is not staff," I said. My voice didn't crack, it didn't tremble, it just came out steady. "She is not a servant. She is not someone you dismiss because her existence embarrasses you." Reggie's face tightened. "Janelle, don't start this." I cut him off with one look. His mother leaned forward from her seat near the opposite end of the table. "Sweetheart," she said with a polished smile, "we were only trying to prevent any further mishaps. It's a formal event. We wanted your mother to feel
comfortable. I almost laughed. Comfortable? The woman worked double shifts for 30 years. She doesn't need comfort. She deserves respect. A ripple moved through the guest. My mother whispered, "Baby, please, not here." But this wasn't about here. This was about finally. Reggie stood, trying to regain control. "Okay, this is enough. You're embarrassing us." "No," I said. "You embarrassed us the second you told my mother to eat with the cleaning crew." He jabbed a finger toward the hallway. "We should talk privately." "No," I said again. "Whatever you have to say, you can say right here." Someone near the middle of the table gasped. A woman set down her wine glass like it might break in her hand. Reggie pressed his lips together, trying to smile for the audience. "Everyone, please excuse this. My wife is—" "Don't finish that sentence," I warned quietly. His mouth shut instantly. I pulled out his chair at the head of the table and gently set my mother down in it. She looked small, nervous, her shoulders curled in. My father sat next to her, his jaw flexing, eyes burning holes through Reggie's skull. "I'm sorry, Mommy," I said softly. "You should have never been treated like this. And I should have spoken up a long time ago." Reggie slammed his hand on the table. "Janelle, stop this now." I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, he looked smaller than I had ever seen him. "You don't get to tell me when to stop anymore." Then I turned to the guest. People Reggie worshipped, people he believed validated his existence. Since we're being honest, let's talk about who helped him get started, about who loaned him money when he couldn't afford rent on his first office, about who fed him when he couldn't feed himself. My parents. The same people he's trying to shove in a corner tonight. Reggie's mother snapped. "That is highly inappropriate." I faced her. "If you talk about my mother again, I promise you'll regret it." She froze mid-breath. Then my mother whispered, barely audible, "Baby, I want to go home." Those 5 words punched through every ounce of fury in me. Her voice was so small, so tired. "Okay," I said immediately. "Let's go." No more speeches, no more fighting for approval, no more shrinking to protect his reputation. I turned to my father. "Daddy, we're leaving." He stood without a word and took my mother's arm gently, helping her up like she might break. His presence filled the whole room with quiet authority, and several guests looked down at their plates. We were halfway to the door when Reggie shouted, "Janelle, where are you going? The party isn't over." I turned back. The lights glinted off the glassware behind him. The music was still playing soft in the background. But everything felt wrong. "It is for us," I said. Then I walked out with my parents. The night air felt sharp against my skin. My mother sagged the instant we reached the car, like she'd been holding herself together by threads inside. I opened the back door. "Mom, sit. Daddy, take her home. I'll follow in a bit." My mother grabbed my wrist. "You sure, baby?" "Yes, ma'am," I said. "There's something I need to finish." My father nodded. "We'll be waiting. Take your time." I kissed my mother's forehead. "I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of this." She cupped my cheek, her voice trembling. "You can't control what people do, only what you tolerate." That hit me deeper than she knew. They drove off, tail lights fading down the street. I stood there, breathing slowly until I felt my spine straighten. Then I went back inside. The house was different now. Heavy, empty. Most guests were rushing to leave, grabbing coats, avoiding eye contact. They scattered like the building was collapsing. No one wanted to be associated with the fallout. I walked past them, silent. In minutes, the place was nearly empty, except for Reggie and his mother, who stood near the table like two statues made of anger. Reggie pointed at me the moment I stepped inside. "You humiliated me," he hissed, "in front of everyone." "You humiliated my mother," I said calmly. "So yes." I pushed back. His mother stepped forward, chin lifted. "Your mother overreacted. She embarrassed herself." I stared at her. "Say one more thing about my mother and see what happens." She stepped back. Reggie ran a hand down his face. "You ruined my birthday. All this over nothing." "Nothing?" I repeated. "You tried to send my mother to the kitchen?" "So what? She used to clean houses. It wasn't even an insult." There it was, the truth. Ugly, stripped bare, without the fake charm. Something inside me turned to ice. I stepped closer, and he actually leaned back a little. "Reggie, you don't realize this yet, but tonight, you just ended our marriage." He blinked, stunned. "Janelle, don't be dramatic." "It's not drama. It's clarity." Anger flashed across his face. "You're not leaving me over your mother's mistake." I laughed softly. "Oh, baby, I'm leaving you because you showed me who you really are." I turned and walked towards the stairs. "You can sleep in your office tonight. I'll pack." He followed me, yelling, "We are not separating because your mother doesn't know how to act in public." I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I just said, "You hurt the wrong woman's mother tonight." Then I went upstairs, knowing deep in my soul that whatever happened next, it was going to get worse before it got better. I didn't sleep at all that night. I stayed in the guest room with the door locked, lying stiff on top of the covers, staring at the ceiling. The whole house felt wrong. Too still, too quiet, like the walls were listening. Eventually, I sat up, pulled my suitcase toward me, and started packing. Not everything, just what mattered. Clothes I actually wore, my laptop, my important documents, the jewelry my mother gave me. Every item I packed felt like taking myself back, piece by piece, undoing years I didn't realize had drained me. I was zipping the bag when the door suddenly creaked open. Reggie stood there in the doorway, unshaven and puffy-eyed. He didn't knock. He didn't ask. He just walked in like he still owned the space around me. "You really packing?" he asked. His voice tried to sound annoyed, but there was fear underneath it. I didn't answer. I kept folding the last shirt. "So that's it? One little argument and you're out?" I turned. "You humiliated my mother on purpose." He threw up his hands. "Oh my God, Janelle, you're blowing this out of proportion." It hit me then how easily he shifted blame, how quickly he softened or snarled depending on what might keep him in control. It was like watching someone rewrite the story in real time. "No, Reggie," I said. "I'm finally seeing things clearly." He took a step closer. "You always make everything about your family. You act like they're saints. This isn't about my family. This is about what you did." He tried a different tone, soft, coaxing. "Baby, come on. We've had fights before. You always calm down eventually." "I'm not upset. I'm done." He blinked. "You're not leaving," he said, voice dropping. "You built a life. You don't get to walk out because you're emotional. I rolled my suitcase toward the door. Watch me. He stepped into my path. You walk out that door, don't expect to come back like nothing happened. I reached for the handle. I won't. His eyes darted, panic flashing into something uglier. He grabbed my arm. Let me go, I said, my voice flat. He held for half a second longer, then released me. I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't say goodbye. I just left. The cold morning air hit my face like a relief. By the time I pulled into my parents' driveway, the sun was barely up. The porch light flicked on before I knocked. My father opened the door, took one look at my suitcase, and stepped aside. Come on in, baby. My mother was sitting at the kitchen table in her robe, hands wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking. Her eyes were swollen, her shoulders small and tired. I rushed to her. Mommy, I'm so sorry. She shook her head. Baby, don't apologize for what that man did. My father placed a fresh cup of coffee in front of me. Then he sat, studying me quietly. You left him? Yes. He nodded, slow and sure. Good. That surprised me. Good? A man like that, my father said, he was always going to choose pride over your peace. My throat tightened. Why didn't you tell me? You loved him, he said. If I pushed too hard, you'd push me away. My mother touched my arm gently. Baby, we hoped he'd grow up. We hoped he'd treat you right. I stared at them. Okay, what aren't y'all saying? My father sighed and stood. He walked to the drawer where he kept important papers and returned with a worn folder. He placed it on the table. Janelle, you don't know everything about how Reggie got started. My pulse quickened. What does that mean? When he first tried to get into real estate, he came to me asking for help. He needed capital. My chest tightened. He told me he saved for years. He didn't. We took out a loan against this house, gave the money to you, you signed the partnership papers, your name, not his, was listed as the financial backer. I shook my head slowly. What? And the townhouse. He couldn't get approved alone. Debt to income too high. I co-signed. Under one condition, the deed is joint. I sat back, stunned. My mother took my hand. Baby, that's not all. My father slid another document toward me, a bank letter, delinquent account. I scanned it, my name, a signature at the bottom. Except it wasn't my signature. The loops were off, the slant wrong, a cheap imitation of my handwriting. I forged my signature, and for a moment, the room tilted, like the air had been knocked out of me. My father nodded. Forgery wasn't just a betrayal. It was a crime, and he used your name. My stomach tightened. When did this happen? He said, over a year ago. Bank called the house. That's when I started digging. My mother looked like she might cry again. We didn't want to overwhelm you. We hoped it was just one time. My father opened the folder wider. It wasn't one time. There were more letters, 2 more loans, 1 nearing collections. He's been in trouble a long time, my father said, trying to stay afloat by dragging your credit under with him. I pressed the hand to my eyes. Oh my God. That's why I called someone this morning, he said. A lawyer. Angela Price. She's expecting us. I nodded, breathing slowly. Before we meet her, I need to go back to the house. Grab the rest of my must-haves. You're not going alone, my father said. I'm not, I replied. We'll go together. We drove back. Reggie's car was parked crooked, half on the sidewalk, like he'd slammed it there. A sinking feeling crawled up my spine. Inside, Reggie was pacing in the kitchen, hair wild, eyes red. He turned when he heard us. Oh, you brought backup, he sneered. I'm here for my things, I said. You live here. He stepped closer. You're not moving out like some runaway teenager. I brushed past him. I'm done talking, Reggie. His breath quickened, panic first, then anger. He grabbed my arm again. My father moved fast, stepping in between us. Son, let her go. He let go, but glared at him. You don't get to walk in my house and... You sure it's yours? My father asked calmly. Reggie's face twitched. I used the moment to slip into his office. My heart thudded in my chest. If he forged my name once, what else had he done? The desk was a mess. Bills, red-stamped warnings, unopened envelopes. The top document read, Account under review. Immediate action required. I snapped photos, hands steady enough. Evidence. I needed evidence. Under that was a denial letter for a business line of credit. The words, high-risk financial behavior were bolded. And beneath that, a collections notice. He wasn't just behind. He was drowning. And he'd been hiding under my name. I took photos of everything. When I returned downstairs, Reggie and my father were in a silent standoff. You used her. Her credit, her name, her family's money. Oh, please, Reggie barked. I built this life. I carried this house. You carried it straight toward foreclosure, I said. Reggie whipped his head toward me. What did you say? I held up my phone. I saw the documents. His face drained. What did you look at? Enough, I said. I have what I need. Reggie shook his head, eyes wild. You think a lawyer's gonna fix this? You think you're walking away clean? I think you're finally about to face what you've done. And with that, I walked out the door. He didn't chase me. He just stood there, frozen, like his entire world had cracked open. In the car, my father started the engine. You ready for this meeting? I stared down at the photos on my phone. The forged signatures, the debt notices, the warnings, the lies. Yes, I said. I'm ready. The drive to Angela Price's office felt heavier than anything I'd experienced so far. Not because of fear, but because everything finally made sense. All the small moments I'd ignored, all the lies Reggie told so smoothly, I didn't even realize I was swallowing poison. My mother kept touching my knee from the back seat, like she needed to feel I was really there, really gone from him. My father drove quietly, jaw tight, eyes straight on the road. When we reached the building, an older brick office with mirrored windows and a clean gold nameplate, he finally spoke. Remember, he said, parking the car, this ain't about shame. This is about protection. I nodded, gripping my phone so tightly my hand ached. I know. Inside, the lobby smelled like lemon cleaner and photocopier ink. The receptionist recognized my father instantly and smiled like she'd known him forever. She buzzed us through without even asking questions. That calmed me a little. If my father trusted this woman, I could too. Angela Price was behind her desk when we walked in. Mid-50s, sharp eyes, hair pulled into a sleek bun, soup crisp, no-nonsense presence. She stood to shake my hand. "You must be Janelle," she said. Her voice wasn't soft, but it wasn't cold either. It was steady, like she'd handled women in my position many times before. "Your father filled me in on the surface details," she said as we sat down, "but not all of it. I'd like to hear the timeline in your own words." I took a breath. Then I told her everything. The humiliation of my mother at the dinner, the confrontation, leaving the house, the financial papers my father revealed, the forged signature, the loans, the visit back to the townhouse, the documents in Reggie's office. I didn't cry. I didn't stutter. I didn't even pause. I was too tired to be emotional. I wanted clarity. When I finished, Angela sat back slowly. "All right," she said. "First thing, you did the right thing by leaving immediately. Safety and distance are crucial." "I'm not scared of him physically," I said. She held up a hand. "Men who commit financial fraud against their wives often escalate when they lose control, so don't assume anything." My mother let out a shaky breath behind me. Angela reached for a legal pad. "Let's break this down." She wrote in quick, organized strokes. 1. Forged signature. That is felony territory, depending on the amount. My stomach tightened. She continued. 2. Loans taking in your name without consent. That's identity theft. My mother covered her mouth. Angela kept writing. 3. Joint property and joint assets. And 4. If any marital funds were used improperly, especially funds you contributed, there's legal recourse. He's always been prideful, arrogant even, but I never thought he'd do something criminal. Angela gave me a long look. People who build their identity on appearances will do anything to keep those appearances intact. She pointed to the phone in my lap. "Show me the photos you took." My thumb hesitated over the screen. I didn't do anything wrong by taking them, right? Taking photos of documents left out in your marital home? Perfectly legal and smart. She studied each image, zooming in. "He's in deeper than you realize," she muttered. "This denial letter, this is serious. He's already been flagged by underwriters." "What does that mean?" "It means banks don't trust him. And if they don't trust him now, things are about to get worse." Somehow, I wasn't surprised. Angela set the phone down. "Janelle, if I file even half of what you've shown me, Reggie will be facing multiple levels of legal trouble." "I'm not trying to destroy him," I said quietly. "I just want out. I want my name cleared." She nodded. "And you deserve that. But he made choices that have consequences." My father leaned forward. "What's our next step?" Angela flipped to a fresh page. "You'll need to give me permission to pull all accounts tied to your social security number. We'll run a full credit search and cross-check with your marital financial statements." My heart thudded. "Is it going to tank my credit?" Angela hesitated. "Some damage is already done, but the earlier we document fraud, the easier it is to reverse. She paused. And one more thing. You cannot contact Reggie. You cannot warn him. If he knows you're building a case, he may destroy evidence or try to manipulate your accounts further. I wasn't planning to talk to him anyway, I said. Angela slid a form across the desk. Sign here to authorize me to act as your representation. I signed. My hands didn't even shake. My father exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for hours. Angela stood. I'll start pulling records today. We'll set another meeting once I see the full picture. We thanked her and left.
Outside, sunlight finally broke through the clouds. It should have felt warm, but I felt cold all over. My father put a hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" he asked softly. "No," I said, "but I will be." When we got back to their house, I went straight to my childhood room. I dropped onto the bed and stared at the ceiling, just like I had the night before, except this ceiling felt familiar, safe, honest. A soft knock came at the door. My mother peeked her head in. "Baby, you hungry?" I almost laughed. The world was burning and my mother was still making sure I ate. "Not right now," I said. "Can you sit with me?" She came in and sat beside me, her hand stroking my hair the same way she did when I was a little girl. "I wish I'd stopped this years ago," she whispered. "Maybe if I'd said something, you wouldn't be hurting now. Mama, none of this is your fault." She nodded, but she didn't look convinced. A vibration buzzed from my phone, a text from Reggie. "We need to talk." Then another. "You can't just disappear. Call me." And another. "This is your house too. Stop acting childish." I put the phone face down. My mother saw my jaw tighten. "Ignore him, baby," she said. "His words don't carry truth." Later that evening, while my parents watched TV in the living room, I sat alone at the kitchen table, scrolling through more of the documents I photographed. I zoomed in on one letter, one I hadn't paid enough attention to earlier. It was from a private lending company, not a bank, a hard money lender, the kind desperate people go to when banks won't look at them. And the amount? Higher than anything I expected, much higher. My chest tightened. Reggie wasn't just drowning, he dived off a cliff without a rope. And then I saw something I had missed before, the date on the loan. 3 months ago, while I was still in the house, sleeping next to him, eating dinners with him, laughing at shows with him. He was taking loans in my name while I was lying in next to him. I felt sick. A buzz shook the table, another text from him. "I'm not playing with you, Janelle. Answer your phone." I turned the phone off completely. A few minutes later, my father walked into the kitchen and sat across from me. "What now?" he asked. I breathed out slowly. "Angela's going to uncover everything. And when she does, it's going to get ugly." My father nodded. "Then let it get ugly. Sometimes things gotta break before they can be rebuilt." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "We'll get through this, baby." That night, I slept more soundly than I expected. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was being in a house where love lived instead of pride. But something felt sturdier inside me. The next morning, I woke to sunshine filtering through the curtains, almost peaceful, until I walked downstairs and saw my father standing at the front window, expression tight. "Daddy?" He didn't turn immediately. "There's a car parked across the street. It pulled up about an hour ago." My heart dropped. "Whose?" He finally turned to me, his expression serious. "Reggie's." My breath caught. He's been sitting there the whole time? Hasn't gotten out the car once, just watching the house. A chill ran through me like ice water down my spine. Because in that moment, I realized Reggie wasn't just losing control. He was starting to break. And broken men did unpredictable things. My father stepped closer to me. "Janelle," he said softly, "we need to be smart, very smart." I swallowed hard, staring at the car outside my parents' window. I wasn't scared of Reggie before, but now I finally understood how dangerous a desperate man could be. And deep inside my chest, a quiet, steady fire lit again, the same one I felt when I took my mother's hand at that dinner, because if Reggie thought sitting outside my parents' house was going to intimidate me, he had no idea who he was dealing with now.
My father watched the black sedan across the street the way soldiers watch storms. Quiet, focused, waiting for the next strike. I stepped beside him and followed his gaze. Reggie's car sat idling, window tints so dark I couldn't see his face. But I felt his eyes on the house like heat through glass. He wasn't coming to the door. He wasn't calling. He wasn't leaving. Just sitting, waiting, watching. A cold wave rolled through my chest. "He's not coming inside," my father said, still staring. "He's just trying to shake you." "It's working," I whispered. My father finally looked away from the window. "Baby, fear don't stop storms. Preparation does." Before I could answer, the front door eased open and my mother stepped inside from the porch. "He ain't moved at all," she whispered. "I walked right past that car, watering the hydrangeas. He didn't blink." That made something in my stomach twist. That wasn't heartbreak. That wasn't remorse. That was obsession. "Let me talk to him," I murmured. Both my parents spun toward me like I'd said something outrageous. "Absolutely not," my father snapped. "You don't walk up on a corner dog. They lash out." "He won't hurt me," I said, though the words felt weak even to my own ears. "Hurting ain't always hitting," my father said, "and he's hurting you right now." I stepped away from the window and grabbed my phone with shaking hands. "I need to call Angela." When Angela answered, her voice was crisp, controlled. "Tell me everything." I told her. The car, the staring, the way he hadn't moved in hours, the slow dread building under my ribs. Angela inhaled sharply. "Janelle, do not approach him. Do not answer him. Do not open the door. He is not in a rational state." "I know," I whispered. "Good. Now listen carefully," she said. "Start documenting. Every text, every call, every erratic behavior. Screenshot everything. Keep notes. We need a timeline." "I can do that." "One more thing. Do you still have access to joint financial accounts?" My pulse spiked. "Yes." "Log in right now while I'm on the phone." I moved to the kitchen table, flipped open my laptop, and signed in. Yesterday's balance stared back at me. $28,740. Today's balance, $3,611. My breath caught. Oh my God, he drained it. My mother gasped behind me, hand pressed to her chest. Angela didn't miss a beat. "Transfer the remaining money into an account only you control, immediately." My fingers flew. Click, click. Balance, $0. A pressure built behind my eyes. Humiliation, anger, fear, all fighting to hit me first. "It's done," I said. "He's trying to gather whatever cash he can before everything collapses. That's a classic spiral." "What do we do?" "I'll freeze the account from my end. You just stay safe." When I hung up, my father was already grabbing his keys, wallet, and the small pocket knife he kept in his drawer. "We're going to the courthouse." "Daddy." No arguing. A grown man sitting outside my house watching my daughter? That's harassment. We're getting protection before this turns worse. My mother nodded firmly. He's right. I didn't fight them. We drove together, my father gripping the steering wheel tight, my mother whispering prayers under her breath. Me staring out the window, trying not to crumble. When we pulled away from the house, I looked back. Reggie's car didn't follow. Somehow, that scared me more. The courthouse was cold, with walls that smelled like old Goodbur and echoes. People sat scattered across the waiting area, some crying, some hollow, some staring at their phones like they were afraid of the next vibration. As we filled out the paperwork, harassment report, financial abuse affidavit, identity theft documentation, I noticed a young woman sitting alone in the corner. She held her phone like a lifeline, foot tapping uncontrollably. Her eyes were swollen from crying. When she noticed me looking, she gave a small, trembling nod. I nodded back. She wasn't part of my story. She was just proof that women like me walked into these offices every day with broken trust in their hands. When we finished, the girl was gone. Outside, sunlight hit my face but didn't warm me. My father checked the street. He's not here. Relief came, but dread stepped into its place. If he wasn't watching the house, where was he? Back home, my mother made lunch, but everything made me jump. The sound of a car door, a dog barking, the whine of a passing motorcycle. My nerves were frayed. Around 3 p.m., I powered my phone back on. It lit up instantly. 7 missed calls, 13 texts, 3 voicemails. And then another text from an unknown number. You think you can hide behind your parents forever? You think this is over? Answer your phone. My blood chilled. Daddy, I breathed, handing him the phone. This isn't his number. He's using someone else's, my father said darkly. Why? My mother whispered. My father exhaled slowly. Because he don't want to be tracked. Then the phone vibrated again, same unknown number calling. Don't answer, my father snapped. I didn't. It rang again, and again, over and over until finally it fell silent. Then another text. The tone wasn't angry anymore. It had slipped into something unpredictable, something that made my skin crawl. You're making this harder than it needs to be. My father wrote the number down. We're giving this to Angela. Evening crept in slowly, shadows stretching long across the living room. My father tapped his foot against the carpet, restless. Finally, he stood. We're going to the townhouse, checking mail, seeing if anything important came. I didn't want to go. But something inside me, the part that needed closure, agreed. We drove in silence. The townhouse looked wrong when we pulled up. Blinds that were always open, now pressed shut. A faint orange glow pulsed from inside. Too steady for a TV, too bright for candles. Like something breathing behind the window. Somebody's inside, I whispered. Stay in the truck, my father said. Daddy. Stay, he repeated. He walked up the driveway slowly, muscles tight, every step calculated. I cracked the window and held my breath. He knocked once. Reggie? No answer. He knocked again. Open the door. Nothing. My father jiggled the doorknob gently. Locked. He stepped back. He's not. A crash exploded from inside. Something heavy slammed onto the floor. My father froze. Another thud followed, then a muffled voice dripping with frustration and rage. I knew that voice. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. Reggie was inside, and he wasn't alone. My father stepped back slowly, eyes narrowing, jaw clenching. "Janelle," he said, quietly, never taking his eyes off the door. "Get your phone ready." "Why?" I whispered, pulse pounding in my throat. "Because whatever's happening in there," he said, stepping closer to the truck, "it's about to get bad." My father didn't move a muscle. He stood at the porch like he was carved from stone, his eyes locked on the townhouse door as another crash echoed from inside. Something heavy toppled, followed by a muffled voice I recognized too well. Frustrated, frantic, the sound Reggie made when he'd lost control of a situation. My pulse hammered wildly. I held my phone tight enough to hear the plastic creak. My father didn't turn around when he spoke. "Call Angela, now." My fingers shook as I dialed. She answered on the first ring. "Janelle?" I whispered. "He's in the townhouse. He's throwing things. Someone might be in there with him." Her tone turned sharper, faster. "Is your father there?" "Yes." "Good. Stay outside. Do not enter that house. I'm calling the police from my office line. They'll respond fast. Keep your phone recording. Stay visible." My throat tightened. "Angela, something's wrong. He's not acting like himself." "Men unravel when their lies collapse," she said. "Stay put. Help is coming." Before I could respond, the distant whine of sirens cut through the air. My father stepped away from the porch, walking quickly towards me. "They're close," he murmured. "Hang up." As I ended the call, my eyes drifted to the trash can near the driveway. The lid was cracked open and something caught the light. Silver. Curious fear pulled me closer. A small, glittery hair clip sat on top of a pile of junk mail. A clip I'd never seen before. Not mine. Too young, too sparkly. My stomach tightened. Foreshadow. Something or someone had been in that house besides him. 2 sheriff cars arrived, lights flashing across the lawn in harsh red and blue pulses. Neighbors peeked through blinds. A couple walking their dogs stopped at the end of the street. The world slowed into a quiet panic as 2 officers approached. One of them nodded at us. "We got a call from an attorney, said there's a possible domestic harassment and forced entry situation." My father didn't hesitate. "My daughter's husband is inside. He's been stalking her, making threats. He drained her accounts. Somebody else is in there with him. We heard movement." The officer turned toward the door. "Stay back." He knocked. "Sheriff's Department, open the door." Silence. Then another crash. The officer knocked again, louder. "Sir, this is your final warning. Open the door or we will enter by force." Nothing. Then finally, the deadbolt clicked. The door opened halfway. Reggie stood there shirtless, barefooted, drenched in sweat. His hair stuck to his forehead and his eyes darted between us all like he couldn't decide who to blame first. "What the hell are y'all doing in my house?" he demanded, chest rising in sharp breaths. The officer kept his voice steady. "Sir, is anyone else inside with you?" "No," Reggie barked. Too fast. "I knocked over a box. Y'all wasting y'all time." My father muttered. "He's lying." The second officer gently pushed past Reggie. "I need to clear the residence." Reggie stepped forward like he was going to block him, but the officer was already inside. The first officer kept Reggie at the doorway. "Step outside, sir. Hands where I can see them." "Why? I didn't do anything. My crazy wife's making up stories." My father surged forward with a sound I'd never heard from him. The officer stopped him with one hand. Sir, don't. He wants a reaction. Don't give it to him. Reggie smirked. Yeah, listen to him. I ain't scared of your dad, Janelle. My breath trembled. A sudden shout came from inside. Sheriff's Department, identify yourself. We all froze. Reggie's face faltered. Then a soft, trembling voice drifted through the hallway. Please, can I come out? My heart plummeted. A woman stepped into the doorway behind the second officer. Young, barely mid-20s, wide eyes. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, hair tangled, a purple bruise around her wrist. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes found mine, hesitant, apologetic, terrified. You're his wife? She whispered. I nodded slowly, my mouth dry. I'm so sorry, she cried. I didn't know. He said you were separated. He said this was his house. He said you were harassing him. Reggie lunged forward. Baby, she's lying. The officer snapped. Sir, do not speak. The young woman hugged herself tightly. He wouldn't let me leave. He locked the back door. He said if I told anyone. Her voice cracked into a sob. The officer held up a small red purse, the same color as the clip in the trash. This belonged to her, he said. Found it behind the sofa, and someone climbed out the back window before we arrived. The young woman nodded, shaking.
Everything after that happened in fast forward. Reggie was cuffed. His face shifted from anger to panic to hollow rage. He tried to look at me. I refused to meet his eyes. As the officers loaded him into the car, he shouted, Janelle, you're going to regret this. You're nothing without me. His voice cracked the air like a whip. But it didn't hit me. Not anymore. I whispered, No, Reggie. The only thing I regret is not leaving sooner. The patrol car door slammed shut. The sirens faded down the road. And then, a moment so silent it felt like the earth paused to breathe. The young woman sank onto the porch, sobbing into her hands. I knelt beside her, rubbing her back gently. You're safe now. We both are. She nodded through tears. Thank you. Thank you so much. My parents wrapped around us like a shield. My mother whispered prayers. My father kept watch like a guard posted at a gate. After the officers drove her home, we stayed outside a little longer, letting the quiet settle. Eventually, my father placed a hand on my shoulder. Let's go home, baby. But I couldn't move yet. I needed one more moment, alone with the truth. The air smelled like damp earth and cut grass. A breeze brushed my cheek, and with it came something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. The kind that comes after surviving a storm big enough to tear down a house. Days blurred into a strange mixture of paperwork, court dates, and long phone calls with Angela. She built the case cleanly, piece by piece. Financial fraud, identity theft, coercion, unlawful detention, harassment. The young woman filed her own statement. Her courage helped both of us. Reggie remained in custody during the investigation.
The townhouse, after legal review, was transferred fully to me due to misconduct and fraud. My credit was restored. Every debt in my name was reversed. Angela handled everything like a surgeon. Weeks later, she placed the final document in my hands. "It's done," she said gently. "You're free." I stepped outside the courthouse. Sunlight warmed my face. This time, I let it. I inhaled deeply, like I was filling my lungs with a new life. My mother hugged me first, blurring into tears. My father wrapped around us both. And then I let myself cry. Not from hurt, not from guilt, not from loss. From relief, from victory, from freedom. People walked by, cars passed, birds cut across the sky. The world kept moving, but inside I felt still, steadier than I had in years. Leaving him wasn't losing. Leaving him was living. As we walked to the car, my father held the door open and smiled softly. "Proud of you, baby." My mother squeezed my hand. God turns truths into paths. And I understood something simple and profound. I didn't win because he fell. I won